When billionaire Elon Musk detected an unusual pattern in the behavior of his reserved housekeeper, Loretta, he found himself consumed by curiosity about her Thursday afternoon departures. Rather than diving into his rocket design projects, he made a split-second decision to trail her through the streets of Austin. What he stumbled upon, tucked between two residential buildings, would forever alter his perspective. What was this enigmatic haven that brought such an unfamiliar smile to his stoic housekeeper's face? And how could this modest discovery prompt the world's richest individual to rethink everything he believed about success, talent, and human potential? Elon Musk gazed out of the floor-to-ceiling windows of his Austin residence, tracking a brewing storm rolling in from the west. Dark clouds loomed over the hills, hinting at rain later that day. He should have been immersed in the rocket design challenges awaiting him on his tablet, yet his mind kept drifting to the quiet woman working in another room. Loretta Patel had been his housekeeper for 6 months. Unlike the string of staff who preceded her, she never grumbled, never called in sick, and never sought special treatment. She arrived promptly at 7:30 each morning, worked efficiently until 4 o'clock, and then vanished until the next day. The sole exception was Thursdays, when she courteously requested to leave at 3. Today was Thursday, and Elon's intrigue, rekindled more than once, piqued again about her weekly destination. "Mr. Musk, may I leave now?" Loretta stood in the doorway, her voice gentle yet firm. She was already clad in her faded blue jacket, a plain bag slung over her shoulder. Elon glanced at his watch, precisely 3 o'clock. "Of course, Loretta, see you tomorrow," he replied. She nodded and turned to go, but Elon called after her. "Wait, with the rain coming, will you be okay? Need an umbrella?" A flicker of surprise crossed her face at his personal inquiry. "I'll be fine. Thank you, sir," she said, then departed, her footsteps fading down the hall. Elon returned to the window. His phone buzzed with yet another message from his chief engineer about engine issues on the new rocket. 3 more calls came as he stood lost in thought. The world's wealthiest man was perpetually in demand, but instead of answering, he hurried to the garage. He grabbed keys to one of his less conspicuous Teslas, a modest gray Model 3, eschewing the flashy Cybertruck or Roadster. "I just want to ensure she gets wherever she's going safely," he told himself, pulling out and spotting Loretta's small figure hastening down the long driveway to the main road. "Rain's coming, and I'm just being a good employer." Even as he thought it, Elon knew he was deceiving himself. The truth was, Loretta Patel had baffled him, and Elon Musk had built his fortune by unraveling mysteries that captivated him. He maintained a cautious distance as she reached a bus stop and boarded the number 23. Elon followed, feeling oddly like a character from the spy films his children adored. The tech titan was tailing his housekeeper through Austin. If any board member saw him now, they'd question his sanity. The bus wound through increasingly humble neighborhoods, where homes grew smaller and closer together. After 15 minutes, Loretta disembarked and switched to another bus, then a third. Elon lagged behind, relying on the car's autonomous driving to focus on her rather than the road. He was struck by how little he knew about this woman who daily accessed his home and personal space. Her impeccable references and thorough security vetting by his team were all he had. Beyond that, he couldn't recall her mentioning family or where she lived. An hour into the journey, the surroundings had transformed from the affluent hills of his estate to a district where apartment buildings needed paint and shop windows bore bars. Children played in tiny concrete yards, while elders sat on porches, watching the world go by. Loretta finally stepped off the third bus and strode purposefully down a narrow alley. Elon parked and followed on foot, keeping half a block's distance. The first raindrops fell, and he pulled up the hood of his usual black hoodie. Grateful for the anonymity it offered. She abruptly turned between 2 dilapidated apartment blocks, vanishing from sight. Elon quickened his pace, fearing he'd lost her. Reaching the gap between the buildings, he halted. Before him stretched a small but vibrant garden, a splash of color against gray concrete walls, with raised beds brimming with vegetables and flowers. Hand-painted signs marked different growing zones. In one corner stood a makeshift greenhouse crafted from salvaged windows, and at its heart was Loretta, surrounded by a group of children eagerly awaiting her arrival. Her demeanor had shifted. The reserved woman who cleaned his home was gone, replaced by someone who laughed freely as tiny hands reached for her. She knelt to their level, listening intently to their excited chatter. Elon pressed against the wall, suddenly aware of how intrusive his presence felt. This was clearly a private facet of Loretta's life, precious and personal, unconnected to him and his vast wealth, yet he couldn't look away. A teenage boy in a wheelchair approached, and she leaned down to embrace him warmly. A woman in her 70s emerged with a tray of lemonade in mismatched glasses. Two teenage girls distributed garden tools from a small shed, while Loretta organized the younger children into groups. "Today, we'll check on our tomato seedlings," her voice carried to where Elon hid. "Remember how tiny they were when we planted them? Who can tell me what they need to grow big and strong?" "Son," called a little girl with braids. "Water," shouted another child. "And plenty of love," Loretta added with a smile that transformed her face. The rain intensified, but no one in the garden seemed to mind. They worked together, inspecting plants, pulling weeds, turning compost. Elon watched as Loretta moved from group to group, guiding a child on supporting a climbing bean plant, assisting an elderly man in checking lettuce leaves for pests. Elon had stood with presidents and kings. He'd built companies worth billions, launched rockets into space, and planned Mars missions, but watching his housekeeper teach children to grow food in this hidden garden, he felt a deeper curiosity stir within him. What was this place? Why did Loretta come here weekly? Why did she seem more alive here than in his multi-million-dollar home? Rain soaked through his hoodie, but he kept watching, mesmerized. A thunderclap made him jump. He'd stood there nearly 30 minutes, lost in the scene before him. The children huddled under a makeshift shelter of tarps and PVC pipes. Despite the downpour, their gardening lesson continued. Loretta sketched on a small board, the children watching intently. Elon shivered. His expensive sneakers were drenched, mud and water trickling uncomfortably down his neck. The pragmatic CEO within him urged him to leave. He had meetings, problems to solve, an empire to manage. Following Loretta had been an odd impulse, and his curiosity was sated. Yet he couldn't bring himself to go. A boy with glasses noticed him. The child tugged Loretta's sleeve, pointing toward Elon. She turned, and even from afar, Elon saw the shock on her face. "Mr. Musk," she exclaimed, her voice tinged with bewilderment, caught like a schoolboy sneaking into the girls' locker room. Elon considered bolting to his car but realized how absurd that would be. Instead, he stepped forward awkwardly, rain dripping from his nose. "Hi, Loretta," he said uncertainly. "Nice garden you've got here." The children stared, a whisper rippling through the group. He heard his name repeated in odd tones. Even in this distant district, far from his usual world, they knew who he was. "The Rocket Man," one boy shouted. "The Tesla guy," added another. Loretta looked dismayed. She hurried to where Elon stood, positioning herself between him and the children. "Mr. Musk, what are you doing here?" she asked in a low, tense voice. Elon ran a hand through his wet hair. I followed you," he admitted. "I was curious about where you go every Thursday. I didn't mean to intrude." Her face was unreadable. For a moment, Elon wondered if she'd quit on the spot. He wouldn't blame her. What kind of employer stalks his housekeeper? "You followed me," she repeated slowly. "From the house." "Yes. No point denying it." "I'm sorry. It was inappropriate." The elderly woman who'd served lemonade approached, eyeing Elon suspiciously. "Loretta, is everything okay? Do you know this man?" Loretta nodded. "This is my employer, Mrs. Vasquez. Mr. Musk, this is Ellen Vasquez. She owns the apartment building next to." Loretta trailed off, her expression still guarded. The children shifted to make room, their eyes wide as Elon ducked under the shelter. He felt absurdly large and out of place among the tiny plastic chairs and child-sized gardening tools. "Everyone," Loretta said, her professional composure returning. "This is Mr. Musk. He's visiting our garden today." A chorus of shy greetings followed. A little girl with bright eyes and a missing front tooth raised her hand high, waving frantically. "Yes, Zara." Loretta acknowledged her. "Are you really the man who makes space rockets and electric cars?" the girl asked Elon directly. "Yes," he replied, surprised by her boldness. "My brother Marco says you're going to live on Mars someday. Is that true? Can we come too?" Laughter rolled through the adults, easing some tension. Elon smiled at the child. "Well, someone will live on Mars someday. If I have anything to do with it, maybe you'll be the ones to go," he said, scanning the eager faces. "I suppose we'll need good gardeners up there, won't we?" The children erupted in excited chatter. Even Loretta's stern expression softened slightly. "Miss Loretta teaches us to grow food," Zara announced proudly. "She says whoever can grow food will never go hungry." "That's very wise," Elon agreed, looking at Loretta with newfound respect. "Food matters, even to billionaires." As rain drummed on the tarp above, the children's curiosity overcame their shyness. Questions poured out. "How fast do your rockets fly? Have you been to space? Are Teslas really better than normal cars? How many houses do you have? Are you super-duper rich?" Loretta tried to quiet them, but Elon found himself enjoying their unfiltered queries. These kids asked the blunt questions reporters were too polished to voice. The garden session had morphed into an impromptu Q&A with a tech icon. Despite the rain, mud, and initial discomfort, Elon was having fun. An hour passed before the rain finally eased. Parents arrived to collect their children, each doing a double take upon seeing Elon Musk sitting cross-legged on a plastic tarp in their community garden. Loretta awkwardly introduced him, carefully explaining that Mr. Musk had simply dropped by. As the garden emptied, Elon helped fold the tarp and gather scattered tools. Loretta worked silently beside him, her movements efficient but tense. "Loretta," he said at last, "I'm truly sorry for following you. It was strange and intrusive." She carefully placed a trowel in a basket before responding. "May I speak freely, sir?" "Of course. This garden means everything to me and everyone here. These children and their families have so little. The nearest grocery store closed last year, and now this area is called a food desert. We grow more than plants here. We cultivate hope, skills, and community." She met his gaze. "I didn't tell you because, well, because our worlds are so different. I didn't think you'd understand or care." Her honesty stung more than Elon expected. "I'd like to understand," he said quietly. "Will you show me everything properly? I promise not to scare anyone or ask awkward rocket questions." For the first time that day, Loretta smiled genuinely. "I think that ship has sailed, Mr. Musk. But yes, I'll show you our little garden." As they walked between neat rows of vegetables, Elon realized he'd journeyed far beyond just crossing Austin that day. He'd entered a world he hadn't known existed, despite living in the same city. Somehow, he felt this unexpected voyage was only beginning. "We started with 3 raised beds," Loretta explained, gesturing to wooden boxes overflowing with greenery. "That was 5 years ago. The local food bank had just shut down, and I noticed the neighborhood kids looking hungrier each week." Elon nodded, trying to picture Loretta, always so composed at his home, organizing this endeavor. "Did you do all this alone?" No, she chuckled softly. "That'd be impossible. Mrs. Vasquez donated this space between the buildings. It was just a trash heap before. The community rallied to clear it, and then parents, grandparents pitched in with seeds, tools, time. They paused at a row of tomatoes climbing ropes tied to a simple wooden frame. "These are Zara's pride and joy," Loretta said. "She grew them from seed. That girl asks more questions than any adult I've met, always wanting to know why things happen as they do. She reminds me of myself at that age," Elon admitted. "I drove my parents crazy with questions. And look what you became," Loretta said with a smile that quickly faded. "Though most kids here don't have the opportunities you did. Zara's mom works 3 jobs. Sometimes the little girl has to cook her own dinner and put herself to bed." The thought twisted uncomfortably in Elon's chest. He followed Loretta deeper into the garden, where a few children still worked. A boy in a wheelchair, Marco, Elon recalled, struggled to reach a raised bed too high for him. "Let me help you, Marco," Loretta said, attempting to lift the boy, but Elon saw her strain with his weight. Without thinking, he stepped forward. "May I?" he asked. Marco looked up, eyes wide behind thick glasses, and nodded. Elon carefully lifted the boy from his chair, surprised at how light he felt, holding him so he could reach the plants. The child's hands moved skillfully through the leaves, checking for pests and testing soil moisture. "These cucumbers need more water," Marco said seriously. "And this one's got aphids." "You know your stuff," Elon said, impressed. "Marco's our garden scientist," Loretta explained. "He monitors all our plants and tells us when something's off." The boy beamed at the praise. "I want to be a real scientist someday. Maybe work at NASA or SpaceX." "You've got the observation skills for it," Elon told him. "That's where all good science starts, noticing what others miss." After helping Marco check a few more plants, Elon gently returned him to his chair. The boy pulled a worn notebook from his backpack and began detailed entries about the garden. "His parents can't afford the medicine he needs," Loretta said quietly as they moved away. "The wheelchair was donated after he outgrew his old one." A flash of anger surged in Elon. How could this happen in such a wealthy country? Loretta gave him a long look. "Mr. Musk, it's a question I ask myself daily." They continued the tour, and Elon learned the garden provided fresh vegetables to over 20 families. Loretta had taught them to can or pickle produce for tougher times. "The most vital crop we grow here," she said, watching 2 teenage girls teach younger kids to judge when beans are ready to harvest, "is dignity. Feeding yourself with what you've grown changes how you see your place in the world." Near a small greenhouse, a group of adults mixed something in buckets. "Our homemade fertilizer," Loretta explained. "Coffee grounds from local shops, eggshells, vegetable scraps, nothing goes to waste here." Elon noticed a lean man measuring ingredients with precision reminiscent of his rocket engineers. "That's Javier," Loretta said, following his gaze. "He was a chemist in Venezuela before coming here. Now he cleans office buildings at night, but here he uses his knowledge to craft the perfect soil mix." "A chemist cleaning offices?" Elon frowned. "His degree isn't recognized here, and his English is limited. But plants don't care what language you speak." This pattern repeated across the garden. Elon met Amara, a former Ethiopian teacher now working as a hotel maid, teaching math to the kids. There was Diego, a builder with an intuitive grasp of irrigation, and Sofia, a fast food worker using her Guatemalan grandmother's methods to deter garden pests. All these individuals, their talents buried beneath low-wage jobs invisible to the world Elon usually inhabited, struck him as the afternoon waned. Loretta led him to a small shed at the garden's end. Inside, shelves held jars of canned vegetables, dried herbs, and seeds saved from past harvests. "This is our winter insurance," she explained. "No matter how cold it gets, the kids will have something nourishing." Elon spotted a cardboard box filled with tattered gardening books, many with marked pages and dog-eared corners. On top was a technical manual on hydroponics, its diagrams meticulously annotated. "That's Marco's," Loretta said, noting his interest. "He got it from the library and renewed it so often they told him to keep it." He's trying to figure out how to grow more food on less space in winter. Elon picked up the book, flipping through pages covered in careful childish notes and questions. Some concepts were complex even for adults. This kid, oh, he's brilliant, he said, not exaggerating but observing. Yes, Loretta agreed. And he's not the only one here with potential. But potential needs soil to grow, just like seeds. The right conditions are everything. A call came from outside. A teenage girl poked her head in. Miss Loretta, Zara's mom's late at work again. Should I take her home? I'll handle it, Lucia, Loretta replied. Thanks. As the girl left, Loretta sighed. Zara's mom works at a nursing home across town. Sometimes the buses are unreliable, and she gets stuck. Elon checked his watch, startled to find it past 7 o'clock. He'd spent nearly 4 hours in this hidden garden, longer than most of his board meetings. I should go, he said. I've taken enough of your time. Loretta nodded and guided him back through the garden, where only a few people remained, stowing tools and securing tarps against more rain. Zara sat alone on a small bench, her legs swinging short of the ground. Spotting them, she jumped up. Mr. Rocket Man, did you see my tomatoes? Miss Loretta says they're the best. Her pride was pure, her smile radiant, and Elon couldn't help but smile back. Those are definitely the finest tomatoes I've ever seen. Want to know my secret? She whispered, motioning him to lean down. Elon crouched to her level. And what's that? Someday I'll grow tomatoes on Mars. Big, red, tasty ones. Like sunlight. Her simple statement, delivered with such confidence, struck Elon with unexpected force. Before him was a child barely scraping by, dreaming not just of Mars but of making it better, more hospitable, more human with her tomatoes. In that moment, surrounded by carefully tended plants and hopeful faces of people with so little yet so much in common, Elon felt something shift within him. His perspective widened. His worldview expanded. He looked at Loretta, who watched him with a cautious expression. I'd like to come back, he said simply. If everyone's okay with it. Loretta studied his face, as if searching for something. What she saw must have satisfied her, for she nodded slowly. Next time, come in work clothes, she said. Those designer shoes won't handle more garden mud. Elon glanced at his ruined footwear and laughed. Agreed. As he returned to his car, the evening air felt different. Richer with possibility. The garden had changed something in him, planting a seed he couldn't name but felt taking root. The following Thursday, Elon arrived at the garden at 3:15. This time, he came directly, not trailing Loretta. He wore jeans, an old t-shirt, and sturdy boots dug from his closet's depths. A low-pulled baseball cap helped conceal his face, though he doubted it would fool anyone who'd met him last week. Pausing at the entrance, he suddenly wondered what he was doing here. He should be managing 3 companies, spacecraft projects awaited his approval, AI models needed oversight, and a conference call with international investors loomed tomorrow, demanding preparation. Yet here he stood before a community garden in one of Austin's poorest neighborhoods, clutching a bag of gardening gloves ordered online. You're back, an excited voice belonged to Zara, who ran to him with a wide grin. Miss Loretta said you might come, but I wasn't sure, 'cause you're so busy with your rockets and stuff. Elon smiled, relieved to see a friendly face. I promised I'd come. You brought clothes that can get dirty, she asked, approvingly eyeing his outfit. Yes, and these too. He lifted the glove bag. Zara peeked inside. Wow. Are those for everyone? If they want them. I noticed last time some didn't have gloves. She grabbed his hand, pulling him into the garden. Come on. I want you to see how much my tomatoes have grown in a week. As they entered, conversations halted. Adults and children turned to stare. This concludes our narrative journey. I trust you found this gripping saga of intrigue, cutting-edge innovation, and astonishing discoveries captivating. From where are you tuning in today? I'm curious to learn which corner of the globe this tale has touched. If this escapade held your interest, please give this video a thumbs up and consider subscribing to the channel for a steady stream of compelling, mind-expanding stories just like this one. Fresh material is posted frequently, ensuring you're always in the loop for the newest spellbinding adventures. Be sure to pass this video along to your loved ones and friends. It's a great way to share positivity and insight while expanding our circle of story enthusiasts. Your encouragement is invaluable. Thank you for joining me, and I look forward to welcoming you back for the next tale.